Hi, I'm Angela Fehr. Our prompt today is nature hike, and this is absolutely perfect for me. I'm going to talk a little bit about painting my environment and some of the experiences of the hikes I've been on here in northern British Columbia, and then talk about some tips for capturing your environment in plein air painting, in your sketches and watercolor studies. So let's get started. We just came from this way, and all around us are mountains. And it's just breathtaking. And we're going to go over this way and see a lake on the other side. I love that through painting I get to savor and explore these beautiful places that I get to visit.
It's got extreme markings there.
These different hikes that we take every year, I come home and I relive them again in my studio, and it's so enjoyable and so satisfying. And I think I love my country even more because of it. This is where I'm hanging out today. I'm going to do a little bit of painting in my environment, and it's not beautiful. There's a bicycle, there's lawn chairs kind of piled up over here, but there's sunlight and shadow, distant trees, semi-distant trees, and flowers, and it doesn't take very much to make an effective scene for a plein air painter. Okay, so this way I can actually prop my book a little bit vertical, so I have some gravity helping me here, and move my palette to there. Hopefully you can still see it. I'm liking the portable palette. Like I said, you can just kind of clamp it onto your thigh if you want to, or in my case I'm just using it balanced on my book. And I like the freedom I have to work with it. I don't have to feel like I'm going to drop it or lose it in some way. So I've mixed up just a green gold to capture my lightest values first. It's a lot easier to go darker than it is to go lighter. So even though my shadows look quite dark, it really works better to start with those light values and build up your darks gradually. I'm creating this band of color, pulling that green gold out to the trees, and then starting with that darker value in behind. This is actually the green gold mixed with a little bit of my jadeite and a little red to just give it a bit of an olive tone. And adding red, the complement to green, is a really good way to just tone down a too bright green. And violet can make a really nice shadow for your greens. Violet has that little bit of red in it that just contrasts and complements with a green and makes a richer dark and a richer shadow. Using the manganese violet right now to just capture a little bit of that shadow feel, and it breaks up the little twiggy bits that I've painted there with my green gold as well. This is a really good opportunity to experiment with a bunch of different greens. This is mostly the jadeite with a tiny bit of violet mixed in. And as I tweak my greens with just slight changes to make them warmer by adding a red or an orange or a rusty brown, or to make them cooler by adding a violet or a blue, you get a real varied effect. And it's a lot of fun to create vibrant and interesting greens just through that kind of experimentation, tweaking those colors to make them warmer or cooler. Cooler greens work really well for shadow colors, and then the warmer greens definitely have more of a feel of sunlight and warmth. Also, often warmer colors tend to be nearer to the viewer, tend to feel nearer than a cooler color. So you can keep that in mind when you're thinking about color temperature, how warm or cool a color is, how much red or blue to add to it, and thinking about distance and contrast and how to darken a color to make it work the most effectively. Here I almost have it's really close to kind of a gray, a near black, mixing my green and my red again to get that darkest dark value. And because I'm working wet and wet, or it's really wet on dry paper, but because I'm not really waiting for things to dry, then I have that opportunity for colors to flow together as they mingle on the paper. There's areas where we've had some edges dry. And here I'm just using a little spatter. In some places it's going to bleed into that first wash. And of course where it hits the dry paper, it's going to sit alone individual. And it's always a fun effect. I think it gives that look of kind of a spray of leaves without you having to paint every leaf. Over on this side, we're seeing some lines that really aren't kind of blotchy. So I'm using a camouflaging technique, pulling some dark tree trunks down to just hide some of those lines that I didn't love, some of those edges. And I'm really improvising at this stage. I've got my kind of pattern of dark and light, and then from there I get to be influenced by my reference, my scene in front of me, but not be tied to it. It doesn't own me. So if I'm seeing things I want to do or change to make my painting better, I feel free to do them. And of course, I'm working in my sketchbook, and that means I also get to feel free to experiment. If you're not using your sketchbook for experimentation, I think you're really wasting an opportunity to really learn and grow. We tend to feel tied to wanting to make a perfect painting when we're working on a full sheet of paper, for example, whereas in the sketchbook, we should feel allowed to kind of research and experiment and study. Adding some vibrant purple, pure purple right now, just to really make those shadows kind of rich and interesting and break up some of those greens. As my lighter values have dried, they've gotten a little bit lighter, and that's kind of a tendency of watercolor. So adding some darks can really create contrasts that can suggest strong sunlight. And now I'm just trying some playful lines here with my brush. I love the point of a round brush to just create lines that echo what's happening in the upper parts of the painting. I've just softened the lower edge of the grasses that I just painted. So I have line, but I also have softness. And I love that. I call it a lost and found edge or a hide and seek edge, when you place those lines and then use water to kind of blur them and have some of those lines disappear. And it's really pretty to see that happen on the paper. As I'm painting, I really try to be engaged with what's happening on the paper more than what's happening in the scene in front of me. The light changes, the wind blows, things change as I'm sitting. The longer I sit, the more the lights and shadows change. So I want my commitment to be to my painting more than to the actuality of what I'm seeing in my scene. I'm trying to quickly finish this video before a big giant rainstorm comes, and I've got this really annoying loud bird behind me, and the dog is here looking for, I don't know what, he heard a noise in the bushes. So we're gonna quickly make the best of this. And actually I think that's a great way to close off this lesson, is talking about making the best of things. Because as a painter, as an artist, that is what we're doing all the time. You're making the best of things in skill, because not a single one of us are as skilled as we would like to be. We're always challenging ourselves to do better, to paint better, and to grow our skills and abilities. And when you have weak areas in your painting ability, and we all do, then we camouflage those. We learn how to kind of work to our strengths while still working to strengthen our weak areas. And when it comes to our environment and the things we see, not all of us are great at taking reference photos. So we paint from a poorer reference photo and then seek to kind of make beauty out of that reference photo. Or maybe we want to paint plein air, but our environment is not the most appealing and beautiful. So we take it and we use our artistic license to make it look picturesque and artistic. And we learn to see, and we learn to do, and we learn to use what we have at the time that we have it. Even though I've been painting for over 20 years, I'm still challenging myself to do better and to be better, and excited about the fact that next year, 10 years from now, my skills are going to continue to grow, and what comes off my brush is going to be better than what I'm making now. And it's the same for you. And that doesn't mean we have to feel ashamed about what we're creating right now. Own it. Be proud of the mosquito on my forehead. That doesn't mean you have to be ashamed of where you are right now and what you're creating. Own the fact that you're painting, that you're growing, that every painting that you create has in it, it's a beautiful little moment somewhere. And I have a feeling that there's a nest and that's why this bird is so disturbed. So I might just have to move here so she can get back to her babies. Nature's wonderful. It's beautiful. It's unpredictable. And we should celebrate that in our paintings, which are also beautiful and unpredictable because we're using this amazing medium of watercolor, which does its own thing. We're collaborating and working together with an unpredictable, absolutely beautiful medium. We should celebrate that in every painting that we create. Don't forget that this lesson is part of World Watercolor Month. We're painting every day in July, and we are doing so many more things as well. I have a companion event, the Watercolor Summer Challenge, where I share lessons and giveaways for Watercolor Month participants or just anybody who loves watercolors. So you can check that out at watercolorsummerchallenge.com. Visit worldwatercolormonth.com to get in on all the World Watercolor Month festivities and support the charitable cause, the Dreaming Zebra Foundation. I'd love to see what you're creating. Hashtag your artwork, World Watercolor Month and Watercolor Summer Challenge, to join the community and share your art with the rest of the world who's celebrating watercolor with us this month. I'm Angela Fehr. Thanks for watching. Thanks for participating in World Watercolor Month, for following along with these videos. I teach every single day at learn.angelafehr.com. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel here, where I post free lessons and tutorials aimed at helping you grow your watercolor skills, embrace the artist you were meant to be, and celebrate the beauty of loose and fluid watercolor. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.